Oh, hi there. I haven't made a video for a few days of any significance, so I wanted to make one now that I have the opportunity. There's a topic I've been thinking about for a while, and that's zombies and how they can and are real. Um, Not in the George A. Romero sense. There's not, rotting dead bodies walking along, attacking people. That's obviously not happening. But there most certainly are pharmaceutical drugs and street level drugs that can bring about this um, undead brain type activity. Uh, Most notably with bath salts, or I think the Russian equivalent is crocodile or something. Uh, I honestly don't really think there's something that totally makes somebody a zombie, but all depending, I guess anybody really could become one with the kind of drugs they would pump into you and all this and that. And you go, well, why would the government or the pharmaceutical companies have an interest in turning people into zombies? Well, in a way they don't, but in another way, quite possibly. And that's military warfare. They want people to become stupid and unable to have any constructive thought and inhibit their ability to function properly. Uh, Depending on your social conditioning as you're growing up, you could just naturally grow up to be more or less a zombie, knowing only a few words here and there. Like, there's an example of there's a documentary called Feral Child from a young girl who was deprived of any intellectual stimulation growing up, was locked in a room by her asshole father, and her name was Jeannie, and scientists and doctors and psychiatrists used this as an opportunity to study brain activity in people who didn't understand linguistics or couldn't speak properly. And I don't believe they were very kind to her either. I don't really know. I only watched like a 10-minute documentary on it. It's quite an interesting story. But anyway, I think your social upbringing can actually lead you down the path of zombification. Uh, okay, some people are happy, perky, and they're able to carry a conversation, but there's not much going on in their head. And there are other people who have struggle with conversation, and they got a lot of things going on in their mind. It's not so clear cut. There are things that are different about different people. Anyway, I'm more thinking of the pharmaceutical aspect. That it is entirely possible that they have cooked up some drugs that can turn people into more or less passive, brainless entities that just don't have any ability to think for themselves or do anything proper. And I think this could be used as a military aspect. A, to humiliate the enemy. B, to easily subdue them. And it can be quite easily done by tampering with the water supply, the food supply, even in the air. They could release chemicals into the air. And all these things are within the bounds of reason, because everyone knows about Monsanto and Agent Orange and all that sort of stuff. In China, in particular, they have their equivalents of those types of programs. Everyone demonizes Monsanto, but there are programs exactly like that in other places in the world. So, Monsanto is the one you know about, or at least know a little bit about. Don't forget about the other ones just because you don't see them. And I think China is the most likely to have a massive program of this scale because they have many humans that they can experiment on, and they do. There's an example of when they tricked a whole bunch of people into looking into the sky, staring at the sun, so that they could send them to military hospitals where they were to receive treatment. In reality, it was just experimentation and medical procedures that they were trying out. Um, so, the Chinese government does all kinds of things that our government just doesn't do. So, in that way, they do have an advantage as far as being able to create new pharmaceuticals more quickly and more effectively and with better results than us, because we don't just grab people and start experimenting on them. I mean, at least I don't think anyway. I'm sure there's probably some derelicts or crazies or criminally insane or whatever, people that get snatched up by the system and just disappear. Can't really prove it though. You're not going to find that on Google. A lot of things you're not going to find on Google. It's only an ignorant mind who thinks they can get all their answers from Google. If you think you can get all your answers from Google and you don't know the exact combination of words to use to get those answers, then you're not going to learn anything. Nothing of significance anyway. So anyway, I believe these chemicals, they affect the brain in ways I don't know how to explain. I don't know about brain anatomy and all that sort of stuff. I'm just saying it's entirely possible for drugs to be constructed for the sole purpose of turning people into like zombies. And it's quite scary because there was the first movie Resident Evil where it was like an underground medical facility that all these people were turned into zombies, and they were in this underground medical facility, and nobody knows if those places exist or not. There's certainly nobody who can refutably deny that they exist, not with any credibility anyway, because if they try to deny it, they may either know that they exist and just don't want people to really think about that sort of stuff, or they honestly don't believe they don't exist because of our superior moral code as human beings and things like that. But you hear about certain things that the Chinese do, to particularly to animals and things like that. I don't need to go through that with you people. And you go, the next step above would be doing that to humans, and they most totally could do that and probably do. But us here in Canadian society, we're small-minded, small town. Whatever the wave of underlying propaganda that we hear is the one we grow up with, and it's the way how we think. And eventually, the government will know what information's available at any given time for any growing person. So when they grow up through life, 40 years down the road, they're 25, the government will know everything that 25-year-old knows. Just as similar as they probably have a pretty good idea of everything I know, because they know, we got his file, he didn't go to school, he works at this place, he went to a mental health facility, this is probably what he knows. And I don't want them to know everything I know. But anyway, getting back to the zombies, there have been some examples, you're not going to find them on YouTube, of people who actually go into like a savage state, like when they were on bath salts or something like that, and they actually chew the flesh off of somebody else. It's kind of like, how is that still, like, that that drug still somewhat like in the gray area? Why hasn't it been taken care of? Why isn't it out of society altogether? I'm sure it's really low. There is hardly any cases, but I never hear of it anyway. but I heard something about them continually changing the ingredients into it, and I don't know, it just sounds screwed up. It sounds like a Frankenstein type project. So anyway, I don't think of zombies much as a George A. Romero type thing, as I said. I'm more thinking of it as more of a psychological thing, where people are just in sort of a trance, kind of not connected with reality, or their physical well-being, or they're just lost. And these drugs can speed up that process. Anyway, yeah, I wanted to make a video, but time's running out for me. My dad actually cut me off on the last video I was trying to make earlier today, so that really annoyed me. So I'm probably going to end this one here now. I might make one later tonight if I feel good. Should do. So I will talk to you guys then. Have a good one.